that?
Yeah, that's got it all. That's got it all.
That's got it all now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, your folks like foreign currency. I always make sure I put in some foreign currency. Here's a quick review of last month on the foreign currency front. We had the U.S. dollar. Here's the dates I had for last month, and then I marked them on the chart here. This is the U.S. dollar index, and we hit 5 out of 7 for 71.43%. You can see how it's marked on the chart here. HOM, there's the high of the month. I think it was off one day on the high of the month. And we had these other, I mark them on the chart there, and so forth. So, okay.
Beautiful
Here's your,
work.
what's that again?
Beautiful.
Okay. Next is Aussie dollar. Here I gave you Aussie dollar popped up on my radar last month. So I gave you 3 dates, the 7th, the 14th, and the 28th. Here they're marked on the chart here. This is futures, so it's upside down probably from the way you're used to in the Forex, you know. And
no, it's
so
the
I
same.
had so at 7, 14, 28, I had that
3
little
for
term
3.
there. This is a little bit better high there on the second one. And then we had a very nice low over here for the 28th. You see
Nice.
that? That was 3 out of 3 for 100%. I'm going to have to work on getting a little better, right? Okay. Moving ahead to new stuff. Now we got the U.S. dollar. Here I'm giving you the dates now for the dollar coming up. The chart. Can you see the chart on there?
Yeah. Scroll down and scroll up a little bit more. It's not showing the bottom of the chart yet. Okay.
Got it now?
Yeah.
Yep. So you can see we're kind of coming down in kind of a wedge formation here. It looks like maybe a little bit more time, a little bit more price. You might get a low. Okay. Here's your dates right up here. Here's your key dates. Had the 4th. Didn't do anything on the 4th, but we got the cluster coming up around the 4th, 15th, and the 18th. There's your next big kind of window, you know. About a week away, you know.
Thank you, Norm.
Yes, sir. Moving ahead. Now we got the general picture, the big picture. We just had this morning, we had a new moon at perigee. This is it's called the Syzygy cycle, or sometimes pop culture, they labeled it now a supermoon. This is when the new moon lines up with the apogee-perigee cycle. Apogee-perigee is the moon at its closest or farthest point. And so these are 2 lunar cycles that get together. Every 14 months, there's also the opposite cycle, which then would be alternate, would be in the middle at 7 months. If we go back 7 months, we had a full moon, a lunar eclipse. That was a 3-way. That was a full moon, lunar eclipse, and perigee. When the full moon and eclipse were with the moon at its closest point. If you remember, that happened on a Sunday night, September 27th. The next morning, the Dow Jones gapped down 300 points.
When the moon is in the 7th house,
yes, sir,
and
that's
Jupiter aligns with Mars.
Yep, you're singing my song there, Dale. That actually describes my natal chart. Okay.
We know we're not there because the next line is "Then peace will reign the planet," and that's
okay.
not.
So anyway, so you might want. I've had seen some studies that show that the currencies are lunar sensitive, and my understanding was, at least back when I had a friend do that, he was a skeptic and ran it through his computer and came back surprised to say, "Wow, this lunar thing works pretty well in the currencies," and he said it was especially good on the Japanese yen. So you might want to pay attention to the lunar cycle.
Interesting. You know, I've been called a lunatic.
Okay. Moving ahead here, I know we got limited time. How much time would you say I have, Dale?
20 minutes.
All right, I can do that. All right, the next big event is we're going to have Jupiter align with Uranus. That'll be on Tuesday night, the 12th. And so one of the neat things about this system is not only gives you timing, but it gives you qualitative information like what market should I be looking at. Okay, so we have Uranus is associated with copper, and Jupiter is in Virgo. So Virgo is soybean. So we'll be looking at those charts in a minute. And then we have a huge deal coming up here on the weekend of the, excuse me, the 15th, when we have 2 big things happen a day apart over the weekend. You heard me talk many times, Dale, about station points. Station points are due to apparent motion. In other words, that's how the planets appear to, what they appear to be doing stop their motion and reverse their direction. This is like when you're driving in your car doing 60, somebody passes you doing 70, you know intellectually and on your speedometer you're doing 60, you look out your side window, and all of a sudden you have the impression that you may be going backwards by 10 miles an hour. Got it? Got it?
Wow. I used to
Einstein
get
talked
car sick. Car sick.
Einstein talked about that when he described the theory of relativity. He told a story about sitting on a train in a train station. The train next to him pulls out of the station. He knows he's not moving, but he looks out his window and has the sensation that he's going backwards.
Right.
Okay, so you
So
go out in the night sky.
this is really a highlight of the month. One
Yeah, absolutely. This window
okay.
is huge because this is rare that we have two planets turning retrograde a day apart, over the weekend. And these
It's
are potentially,
interesting. It's interesting. It's mid-month because there's a lot of esoteric guys that I followed in the past, Norm, say that markets are poised for reversals mid-month, mid-year, mid-week,
well, this is
and
specific to this particular time.
right.
So anyway, have two planets that are potential killers. I mean, not just in the markets, but in real life, out there in the real world. You have Mars, in mythology is the god of war, turning
Right.
retrograde. And Pluto. Pluto has to do with transformations on the negative side, annihilation, elimination. So you can see, I can't think of any combination that has scared me more than looking at this thing. Right?
So you think
I'm
there could
thinking
be some type of geopolitical military
exactly,
thing, and is
exactly.
Pluto? Did they use Pluto for coming up with plutonium, which is also annihilating uh,
I don't think there's
quality?
anything more powerful than a plutonium bomb, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay.
anyway,
Interesting.
I'm considering not even going out and get my mail over the weekend. Right?
And that's the day the IRS deadline.
Yeah, here's a real quick funny story, about the IRS. They now consider April 15th tax day a holiday in Washington, so the IRS is shut down on tax day. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah,
So
they now have
but
extended the tax to the 18th. You can send your tax returns in on the 18th because the IRS is shut down on the 15th because that's a holiday.
don't worry, Norm. Trump will make America great again.
There you go. It's Dale. It's like in all the department stores. Our busiest day of the year is the day before Christmas. Let's shut down that day and have a holiday.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy, huh?
I know. Huh?
Yeah.
Parallel universes. Go ahead.
Only
All
if
right,
you're.
so we really have to be aware of our positions in the market and our personal situations mid-month. If
Yep.
you're, because
So
this is the
anyway,
first time I've ever heard you voice major concern about an astronomical event since you and I have been talking.
exactly. I tend to be low key about this stuff. I've been doing this for
Yeah.
years and years, and the things come and go. Sometimes people die. That's the way it is. But I think I'm really concerned about this one. You
Okay,
could
buddy.
have a major terrorist attack or some military attack or who knows what. Okay,
Okay.
here's the components of this. Mars is turning retrograde in Sagittarius. That has to do with international affairs, trade, transportation. Okay, then we have Pluto, which is in Capricorn. That could be political, and it's in Capricorn, which also implies the possible seismic activity. You could get earthquakes, volcanoes, all kinds of nasty stuff going on here. You're not going to go on here,
Wow.
and it's yeah.
Yeah.
Now
Wow.
here's the
And that's
markets that
high.
they're
Yeah.
here's the markets they're associated with. So Mars is in Sagittarius. That's in oats. That'll be oats in the stock market. The stock market is the big basket of everything. So if anything happens, that'll affect the stock market. And
Wow.
nobody cares about oats, so we won't bother talking about oats.
Mares
It's
do. Mares eat oats and does eat oats. They
right, but
care.
it's very thin in the oats futures, as you know, Dale. So, but I have to, doing my work. I just have to report. I don't stop.
I used to love to trade the oats. They're a great technical market. They used to be.
They work beautiful with my stuff, but you can't. Most people don't care, so because it's so
Yeah.
thin.
Yeah.
And I just have to report. I can't stop at each market and go, gee, do I want to tell people about, I'm doing this for you? But in my letter there, I just do. I kind of mechanically go through and report what I see, and then we can figure out later whether you want to do that or not. Now
Before you
Pluto.
continue, Norm, I want everyone who's listening at the minimum contact Norm for a trial and a course because I believe in what Norm does. It's a rare, unique opportunity to learn a discipline that you may think is a bit esoteric, but I've seen many of he just showed you last month. If you had been aware of his dates on the currency, on the dollar index, 3 for 3. So at the minimum, it's zero risk to take his trial and his course. And I believe an excellent investment in your future to have this type of knowledge if you're going to be a trader and looking for market turns during your career. And it's the strongest endorsement. You guys know that I don't normally do this, and I leave it up to you. But Norm has been coming here for a long time, providing great information, and at the minimum, you can go ahead and at least register to take his course because this will be good for you. And this is coming from your coach, Dale Pinker. Go ahead, Norm.
Thank you very much, Dale. And by the way, we were kind of screwed up there on the beginning because of all the technical issues. Some of the new people may not know that I have over 40 years experience. I'm a former Chicago floor trader. I traded on the CBOE and the Board of Trade, and been studying this stuff for, depending upon where you count as my starting point, anywhere from 40 to 50 years. 40 years as a professional. I actually started studying the stock market when I was 15 years old, and I just turned 65, so that's 50 years.
Yeah, that's what
So
I
anyway,
mean.
moving ahead here now, let's break this down. So we have Pluto in Capricorn going to turn retrograde. That's a sort of punctuation mark for Pluto in Capricorn. And so Capricorn is coffee, and then Pluto is cocoa, hogs, and T-bonds. In a little bit here, when we get to the charts, I'll show you an interesting relationship between these markets. Something that if I didn't have anything to show you and just told you, you would think, oh, that Norm is crazy, right? But I can prove it to you. Okay. Well, you might think I'm crazy anyway, right?
I think that you have wisdom that, when I've interviewed 1,000 people, Norm. Okay, so I
Okay.
think that you have wisdom that is unique for our generation and generations past that new generation traders are ignoring. And I think that it's probably some of the most important things to know because my idol, Paul Tudor Jones, says all the big money is made at the turns. And having a knowledge base of what you teach gives you an idea and a bias for turning points.
Do
And
do you know
knowing
Paul? Do you know Paul Tudor Jones?
I've spoken to him once. I tried to
Okay.
get him to hire me, but at least I did talk to him, and he is
Do
one
you
of
know
my
his quote?
trading heroes. What's that?
I used to know his head of research, Peter Borish. Did you know him?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But he's a legend. He's one of the market wizards, and if he believes, and I think his P&Ls will prove it, that all the big money is made at the turns, then people need to be aware of how turning points happen. They believe in things like fibs. They believe in natural numbers. Then they should also learn what drives fibs and other laws of the universe that harmonically repeat themselves, and that's what your work does.
Okay. Let's. I appreciate that, but let's stay focused here. So I think we got about 7 minutes to go, right?
Yeah,
So here's the stock market. The stock market's a big basket of everything, so it's going to respond to these huge things I was talking about before. And so there's your big dates. You got Tuesday night the 12th and the 15th, and the 15th weekend. And here's some interesting things coming out here at math, some GAN math. Okay, some of your folks might be GAN students, and so we have the high. We had a. If you go look at the S&P chart here, I'll move that up so you can see that better. You can see we had a high in early November, November 3rd to be exact. The market moved down into the 20th of January and made a low there, and then we've been coming back up. Okay.
Yep.
So if you do the Dale, I'm sure you're familiar with the method in technical analysis called symmetry, right?
Yes.
Where you take a movement like this down move, and then you like do a mirror image of that and flip it over, and that would project a change in trend out the same amount of time. So we had 79 days down, 79 days up. Will take you to I think tomorrow, the 8th.
Yeah,
Okay.
someone pointed out, yes, there are some guys in our community. Tolson talks about symmetry, and what a great example that you're giving right there. So the
Okay.
symmetry is in time,
Now
not price.
if we break this trend line, we got not just symmetry, we might have cemetery for the stock market.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Norm.
Could be rather lethal for the stock market. So anyway, moving down to here now. Again,
1930 in April. I'm looking for 1930 to be visited this month.
let's say it again. Oh, you were going to drop to 1930.
That's my number, my monthly off number,
All right. So
1930.
Gann was big on square numbers, and so I noticed when I was doing my work that we were coming up to 2,601 days from the March 6, 2009 low, and the S&P bottomed at 666, and that's 51 squared is 2,601 days. That brings you to the 18th of April, which is Monday following the big weekend I've been talking about. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
So there's another confirmation that that's going to be a huge weekend. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of stuff mid-month, man.
There you go. So now we're moving on ahead. Here's because Tuesday night Jupiter aligns with Uranus. Uranus is copper. You might want to keep your eye on the copper market. Here's your copper market.
Okay.
Okay. Coming down here, looks like it has. You can see here, looks like on the right hand side, you got maybe a little more time, a little more price. Right now, it looks like as of last night's charts, looks like you might be setting up for a low in a few days. You know. Right?
Yeah. Right at
Here's,
support.
here's your beans. You're from the Midwest. There, you used to didn't you trade on the
Yeah.
Board of Trade or something like that?
CME, but I remember the old beans in the teens. We got there a few years ago. Maybe we're
Oh
going to
yeah,
try it again.
yeah. That was the old mantra, right?
Yeah, beans in the teens.
They topped in 70. What was it? 73, 74 at I think $12.92.
Right, and didn't we
That was
trade 15 to 18 bucks before
Oh
we
yeah,
came off?
that was a generational top. It took like
Yeah,
30 more years or more to take that top out.
right. That was like around 2011 when gold was 1900 or something like that.
Which one, the earlier one or the later one?
No, the one that went that took out the generational high.
Oh yeah, well that was we topped in gold in 2011 at
Right,
1935, I think 32 something
right. I
like that.
think that's around the same time period the beans topped over, I don't know,
Yeah.
15 bucks or
Anyway,
something.
so we got because Jupiter's going to line up with Uranus and Jupiter's in Virgo, which is soybean sign. You want to watch for a change in trend there on the beans. Also, at the end of the month, one of your favorite things, Dale, is Mercury retrograde. We'll be having Mercury retrograde at the end of April. That's and Mercury is the ruling planet for soybeans. So it's usually more times than not, it's usually a high and usually bearish for beans during the retrograde 3 week period. Here's your coffee coming up. We're talking about coffee because Pluto's in Capricorn. Pluto's going to turn retrograde in Capricorn. Now, here's the interesting thing. The ruling planet, though, for coffee is Saturn. Saturn turned retrograde on the 24th of March. This high right here, then, can you see where I'm pointing?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm pointing at
Yeah,
that high
Mercury.
there. That
Yeah,
was the 20. That was off by one day. Off by one day. That was the 23rd of March.
that's a
Okay.
huge trade in a short period of time.
Yeah, and that's a big that's a monster contract. That's 300. Every penny is $375.
And
So if
look,
you
it couldn't fill the gap from October. Interesting.
yeah. So
Nice
anyway,
deal.
when a planet, the point is when a planet turns retrograde, that's usually bearish for that commodity. Whatever the ruling planet is. Ruling planet for coffee is Saturn. It will turn retrograde on the 24th, 23rd. Market topped out, and it's been going down pretty much ever since. Okay,
Okay.
but watch on the 18th, 15th. We might get some kind of short-term low or something there when Pluto turns retrograde. Unless the
Okay.
market rallies into that weekend, then you'd be looking for a top. That'd be possibly even more bearish for coffee. Now, watch this. Here's cocoa. Remember I said Pluto was cocoa, hogs, and bonds. And
Yeah.
there, look at that. There's the 18th of March. You're going to think I'm crazy when I tell you that cocoa and hogs are astrological cousins. So look at this. The cocoa tops on the 18th of March. You see that?
Yeah.
That's when. Okay. Now look
And
at
the
this.
hogs
Here's your.
and the
Look at
hogs
it. Here's
top there too.
now. Here's your
So
hogs, Dale. The
I'm
top.
telling you, that day is the first day I didn't have any hot cocoa with my bacon.
There you go. Exactly. And you
So
got the
did
kosher
the
bacon. You got the
yeah.
kosher bacon right there.
The rabbis spit on it. Go ahead.
You know those guy kosher bacon comes from kosher hogs, right, Dale?
Yeah.
And you know what kosher hog says, right?
Yeah.
It says oink vey,
Chazers.
oink vey. All right. So anyway, there you go. They both topped on the same day, and they're astrologically related in my theory. And so there you go. That's pretty cool. And so anyway, Pluto, which is the ruling planet for these two markets, is going to turn on the weekend of the 15th of April. So
Okay.
there's your two markets there. Keep an eye on those markets. And you got bonds coming up next. By the way, the bonds were off a day or two back in March when they bottomed right here in the middle of March. I think that was the
Okay.
16th rather than the 18th. Okay.
Okay.
So here's how you get all the good freebies. We got about 1 minute to tell them about the goodies. So
All
you
right.
get if you can get a hold of me, please get a hold of me right away. If you want to learn about this amazing, huge stuff coming up here in about a week, we need to get you trained. Get the letter to you and get you the free class so you learn how all the stuff that's in the letter. Not in addition to the astro stuff, I do some advanced Fibonacci time cycles. I give you a crash course in GAN. And let's see. Oh yeah, and we have the fractals too. I do the fractals too. So that's what that's what Dale was. I almost called you Gan there, Dale. So anyway,
Dale Grant.
that's because
DJ Dan.
you're a brilliant guy, right? So anyway, so
All
that's what
right.
you were alluding to earlier. Those forecasting models you were alluding to earlier. Those are all fractal models. The
Right.
January barometer, the Superpole model, and all that. Those are all types of fractal models. Where you take a small piece of something and extrapolate out the bigger picture. So
Okay.
so get a hold of me. Here's my contact information, and you can get the free April letter. I only have a few spots left, and I'm all booked this week. I got a few spots left for next week. I can fit you in. It's a one-to-one class where I can talk to the people on Skype, put my letter up just like this, and then I go through the letter and show you how to use it and how to get the most out of it. And you're going to learn all these different techniques. So here's my contact info. I'm in a beautiful sunny Naples, Florida. And there's my phone is 239-594-3939. That's 239-594-3939. My email is nwinski at embark is embarq.com, or you can reach me on Skype at norm.winski. And don't bother going to my website because it's got an old email address on it. I haven't fixed that yet. So pay
Okay.
attention to the contact information.
Addenda, can you please post that contact information for Norm? And I want the crowd to thank you, Norm. And I also want to get a feeling for how many people are committed to responding to Norm and learning from Norm. Give me a Y if you are. I think I'm going to take your class this time.
I'd love for that. I'd love
How
to do
about
that.
that? So here's my Y. Who else in the community is going to get into the class with me so that we could be talking about this more in LAR? And I think it'd be an interesting aspect to add to our community. Give me a Y if you're going to sign up.
How do I do that? I want to put a Y in.
All right. Well, your Y was the interview.
Okay.
So I encourage people to do it. Dion says thanks. At the minimum, everyone say thank you, Norm. Norm made
Okay.
you. Pipper's going to sign up. Sinatra's going to sign up. You're going to sign
Oh, I
up,
love
Sinatra?
Sinatra. Hey, we'll get Sinatra
Yeah.
to sing "Fly Me to the Moon," right?
Yeah. So I think that Goldie would be interested in this kind of stuff, and
Okay.
Mystic would be interested in this kind of stuff. I think Abel should. Okay, someone's skeptical of it. However, he's able to keep his mind open to it. He says thank you. Everyone's saying thank you, and Ibby's going to sign up. So I want to thank you personally, Norm, for all the great work, and you're a watchman for me. And the watchman is I'm going to be on high alert mid-month for a lot of interesting aspects to come into the market. And all I could say is this: I want to end it with this. I respect you, Norm.
Well, thank you. You're terrific, Dale. Terrific guy. Respect you a ton, and it's great being on your show. I hope to help some of your folks.
Thank you, Norm. Have a great weekend, buddy, and stay safe mid-April.
You too, everybody. Yep. I hope. Looking forward to helping some folks out there, and stay safe. Exactly.
Yeah, and
Especially.
I'm gonna come in and take the course with you. Okay,
Okay, great.
bro.
Well, let me
All
know.
right.
Send me an email.
Okay,
Okay.
Norm. Thank you, buddy.
All right. Thanks a lot.